All right, what is up, ninjas? So this time I want to actually go through some real examples of products that I've actually made work in the past, drop shipping, and I want to talk about kind of some of the reasons why that they were able to be successful, and how you can kind of emulate these same characteristics for your own products and for the products that you do select. Kind of let's just go through a couple of them together, looking at a number of different resources to kind of figure out whether or not these are going to be something that are going to be able to be marketed correctly, have the type of profitability margins we want, and have some of the characteristics that just really have been proven successful from a drop shipping perspective. So heart rate monitors is the first one I want to talk about. They're used by athletes, they're used by people at the gym, they're used by people in kind of the age range that we want to go over exercising, whether it's mothers that are walking and using them, or people who are trying to exercise or lose weight or something like that. So there's a big market. There's always going to be kind of a fitness market like that, and people kind of like to be able to track these things. And so let's go over a few things. So first, we're going to search it on AliExpress, and so we see the first thing we see is almost 9,000 results here. Some of them don't have ePacket, and ePacket is the faster shipping that we talked about. Most of the time you do want to ship ePacket, especially with small stuff like this. So we see this manufacturer here with 10,000 orders, which is usually a good sign. $24 to 38 a piece, depending on what you want. Tariff free, they have marked here, 100% original. So if it is kind of a name brand like Xiaomi, then you want to make sure that it is actually 100% genuine. And so they have a really good score here, so you could feel pretty comfortable that they are. So they have a bunch of availability on AliExpress, so you know that you can source it. So that's kind of the first thing that we want to talk about. Obviously, they are lightweight, easy to ship, easy to store, and kind of they are kind of one size fits all because you can adjust the length of the wristband. So let's search the same thing on watch count. And again, watch count is how we kind of determine what are the most popular products on eBay. So we just search heart rate monitor here, and we see that there's 1,300 people watching this one, 1,000 watching them here. This is the exact same product for 27 instead of the 23 on AliExpress, which is interesting to note. We see 800 people, 800, 800. So there's a ton of people watching these, which is a good sign. If we want to actually go to one of the listings, we'll be able to see how many sold. So 3,300 sold, which is great. 591 inquiries. So we know that these are moving. So before we even invest any of our time into setting up a store around them or whatever, we know that they're selling. So let's take a look on Amazon. So when we search heart rate monitor, we see a number of different results here. A lot of different reviews: 1,400, 1,200. 1,500, 1,200. So a lot of different selection here, a lot of different reviews, a big price range for some of these, between 30 and 75 for the most part. If you do have Jungle Scout, you can run it just to see kind of what the numbers are for heart rate monitors. I would expect them to be pretty large. Yeah, so these are monthly revenue numbers, which is insane, right? So, if we totaled that, it would probably be, $1 million a month or something like that. And so we do see a huge amount of kind of sales revenue here, which is what we want to see as well, because you want to make sure that your product has enough people searching for it often enough to kind of sustain that demand over the full year. Which, because when you start to sell products, guys, it's important to note that you really start to develop relationships with your suppliers. They'll give you preferential rates. They'll have other products for you, especially if you become a person who is ordering a large amount of products from them. It's just kind of an investment into the relationship and into everything you're doing. So you want to pick the correct products kind of from the beginning, and these are the types of things that you want to look for. So heart rate monitors, again, worldwide, we do see some pretty sustained demand here. If we wanted to check, specifically for the United States, we could just type United States. And again, we see slightly lower than worldwide, but we do see some pretty consistent demand throughout the year. Yeah, I would say averaged about a little over 50 out of 100, which is pretty good. The last thing I want to do is go into audience insights, which we will talk about more later in the marketing section. But this is basically Facebook telling you what specific portion of their customers are interested in specific things. So before we put any quantifiers or narrowers or interests, this is all of Facebook. 54% are women, 46% are men. So if we put in, heart rate here, then all of a sudden it changes to 74% women. So we know right off the bat that 3 out of 4, of the people that we'd be targeting for the specific product on Facebook would be women, as they're primarily the ones interested. And again, we would definitely probably not focus on 18 through 24-year-olds. They're probably not as concerned about their heart rate. They're probably out, studying or not worrying about getting in shape as much. But the 25 through 64-year-olds really makes up a big portion of this specific target audience. And then we want to look at page likes. So if you look at page likes here, these are some of the things that people who are interested in their heart rate are also interested in. So, maybe they're also interested in their beauty, right? Because they're caring about their appearance, which is maybe why they want a heart rate monitor so they can lose weight, designer shoes, a bunch of different things. So we know that there are some things on Facebook that we could actually target to get our, target audience into a narrow enough set of people that every time we show our advertisement for our product, it's going to be somebody who might be potentially interested in that product. And so let's do one more all the way through, and then we'll talk about it. So I wrote down a couple of them here. Heart rate monitor, plus size shoes. Plus size shoes are a good one because it's difficult to find them. If you go into like a Foot Locker or something like that, but you have like a size 15 or 16 shoe in men's, or oversized for women as well, it's much more difficult to find your shoes, because if you have a very small foot, you can get child sizes and things like that, so it's a little bit easier. But there just aren't that many people out there who create plus size shoes in the way that some people might need. So it really fits to a very specific niche. They have a high success rate on eBay. Women's size 11 sells at 62%, and men's size 14 at 75%. And so, if we were to go through this again, we would just go plus size shoes. And we can take a look at what AliExpress has, right? So we see 26,000 results almost, which is crazy. We see ePacket for all of these. Very cheap also for these shoes, $13 a pair. Lots of different selections, some interesting ones too. I might wear those. I probably wouldn't fit my foot, but they have some great stuff here, especially and even plus size. To even go further into a sub niche, plus size dress shoes, right? You might have a section for dress shoes. And so, kind of the point of this, guys, is to really just think through these processes. I wish I could give every single one of you, this is what niche you should do. These are the products you should sell, but it's just not possible. So I want to try to, as best I can, get you to reframe your mindset into being able to understand what is a popular niche, what makes things successful from a dropshipping perspective, and from creating a Shopify e-commerce store. And so let's just do one more. We'll go plus size maternity wear. Plus size maternity. Let's see what we see. So 5,000 results here. Plus size maternity clothing, leggings, right? They have like a pants, literally belly pants, which might be great. Long sleeve lace maternity dresses, so dresses to maybe hide a little bit of the extra growth. So they have, this is one that I don't know much about, to be honest. I haven't been pregnant for a while, so this might not be one that I would personally do, just because my own personal experience and what I could add value to from a creativity perspective is just very lacking, because I just don't have much knowledge. And, there are situations where you can learn and things like that if you think you find a killer niche, but you just don't know much about it. But, there are enough amazing niches out there that I wouldn't probably get into this specific one personally, just because I don't know much about it. And so let's go into antique clocks. So we see 25,000 results here, which is absolutely insane. And they have some amazing stuff here. I would easily have that for my house. They have, looks like some Harry Potter stuff, right? And let's take this same search term and let's go through the motion. So I like to check AliExpress. I like to check watch count. Let's see what we see here. 234, so a few less watchers, but still, there's definitely some people who are going about and buying these things. Let's take a look at this and see how many actually sold. 148 sold, so reasonable demand. But if you had some, if you had enough options, then every time you pay for a click to get somebody onto your website, right? A couple things are happening. You're pixeling them, which we'll talk about later in the marketing section, which allows you to retarget them, which is the cheapest and best form of being able to actually get sales for the cheapest price. So you're pixeling them, right? You're only paying for one click to get them onto your site, and then they see multiple options, if you've optimized your site well for both desktop and mobile, and you have collections and things like that, which I'll teach you exactly how to do, show to them immediately, they're seeing many different products at once. And so, something is bound to pique their eye. If you're doing your product research and due diligence, you're really only presenting things that have been proven, to sell elsewhere. And so if we go to Amazon, let's see, put an antique clock. So we see a lot less here, which isn't necessarily a good or bad sign, to be honest, because sometimes when there's not as much of a presence on Amazon, it means that there's more kind of space for us to take customers elsewhere. And so low demand, but also low competition. So there's some cool stuff here just to get ideas and things like that. We could probably find the exact same products on AliExpress if we were looking. Let's put an antique clock. So this is the USA. Wow, so it's like a lot of demand here. So the last one we looked at was at about 50 for average. I would say that this one is even above 75 for an average, and that's only in the USA. So if we're going onto Facebook, which we'll talk about in depth later, we would target, Kentucky, Oregon, Alabama, Connecticut, and Indiana, because we see right here that the sub-regions that are most interested in antique clocks are these 5 states. And we can go even one step further and go down literally into cities. So if we wanted to only target New York as a split test, which we'll talk about what that is, right? Doing one ad set and doing a second as like keeping everything the same, but using just a different city, and then you'll see which one performs better, and you can scale the one that performs better, right? It's a beautiful process. I love advertising. And so, we're finding a lot of data from here. So we see a bunch of different demand here. Maybe one last thing that I want to take a look at is just worldwide. So we see, even higher demand worldwide. We see a lot of, 97s and 100s here, which is amazing. The UK seems to have even more demand than the USA. So this might be something where you open up a UK, USA, Australia store, which is, these are the big 4 for e-commerce anyways. And so, when we set up our shipping plans, we're going to keep it super simple, and we're only going to have, these 4 shipping plans, because it just makes things a lot easier for us, makes things a lot easier for our customers and things like that. And so that's actually really interesting to see that the 4 that are most interested are the 4 that we are going to target. So the last thing, let's see if we can actually get antique. So we see antiques. Let's see if antique clocks. Old clock. So we can target antiques just as a antique furniture. Antiques Roadshow might be a great one. Right, so people who like Antique Roadshow also like old photo archives, weird history, ancestry. So the people that like Antiques Roadshow, in my opinion, would be extremely likely to be interested in kind of the the feel that an antique clock would give you. Again, this old house would be amazing. Hallmark Channel for people who like home decor and things like that. And so there's a lot of stuff that we can work with for antique clocks. And so I just wanted to go through kind of my thought process when I do find a specific niche. And we could talk about all of these, right? Plus size maternity wear we mentioned, military insignia, right? Collectibles are always great niches for the most part, just because collectibles are hard to find. And if you can really kind of narrow down into a market that hasn't necessarily been fulfilled yet, but has enough interest from a collectible perspective, you can really make a lot of money, guys. And so those are kind of the simple ways that I like to go through things. AliExpress, watch count. I look at eBay just to confirm sales. Amazon, I look at Google Trends, and then I look at Audience Insights to make sure that there's enough kind of advertising narrowers based on interests that we can really serve our ad to the most targeted possible user. So I hope that helped, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.